But I could hear the sniggering in this studio, and I thought, who's that? Well, it's one of the two of them, isn't it? It's either one or maybe it's both. When we embarked on the topic there of switching allegiance. Now, there is talk that Antony Gordon may well end up doing that. He is of Irish and Scottish descent. And at the moment, there is talk that he may end up playing for Scotland. So might Harvey Barnes, who could do the same. Elliot Anderson and Tino Livramento, all coincidentally, their club, the same club, Newcastle. Gareth Southgate spoke about the suggestions that Scotland might be looking at Gordon.
He's a good player. He was very good with our under-21s last year. He's very close, I have to say. I like his attitude. I like the way he works so hard for the team. Of course, I'm sure he was hoping to get a call at this moment, but there are good players playing well in that position on the field. But I think, like a couple of others, they've always got to think a little bit further ahead as to opportunities that can come up. And I think for somebody like Antony, that's eminently possible with us.
Good. Thanks, Gareth. We'll have him. I mean, we're watching on as England and Southgate take their time about Antony Gordon. Martin, what would you say? Where's just your thoughts on this one? If Gordon was to switch allegiance, would it be the right decision in terms that he would probably end up getting a hell of a lot more games, or would it be the wrong time in his career to do that? He's 22.
Well, let's take it one step at a time, Jim, because that's not really. I don't see that as being imminent at all. I feel this is a player. Gareth answered it brilliantly, really, because for me, he's only been around for 5 minutes, and I do see great signs with him. His work rate is phenomenal, to be fair, on that left-hand side. The job Eddie's doing with him, improving him. But it's only really one season. This is his first proper season. Now, we don't want a situation where, we just run straight into the England first team as soon as you start to perform. We need to have a situation where there's other people.
You mean like Cole Palmer?
Well, but Cole Palmer is maybe slightly different, isn't it?
Why is that?
Well, because maybe he's looked at him and thinks, well, okay, he's quite gifted. He's a different animal. His journey's been a little bit different. If you look at Antony Gordon, it seemed to me that there was a lack of discipline, a lack of direction. He left Everton, wasn't particularly happy with the way that happened. He's got his head down. He was only working on 60% capacity when he was playing for Everton. Now,
same could be said about Cole Palmer. There's lots of rumours about Cole Palmer's off-the-field disposition. There's also an attitude of not wanting to stay at Man City and learn under the best coach. So you could run the same argument that Cole Palmer's getting in the squad, and so could Antony Gordon.
His last 2 games, he scores in a Super Cup final and he scored in the Community Shield. I think
Antony Gordon's been ripping it up for Newcastle this season.
Yeah, but he wasn't
you were
necessary.
Calling for Gordon to be in there.
But Gordon, Gordon decided he didn't want to play for Everton. He didn't want to play for Everton at the end, so he could force his move. So a different situation. Carl Palmer was more than willing to play for Man City. 2 different situations. Let's just move back to the initial question, okay?
Yeah.
So no, I think what Gareth's doing.
Right, you were calling for him to be in the England squad.
Yes, that's right. Before the Italy game, because I said that Rashford was
but
maybe in trouble. But
time.
Rashford did very well in that game, didn't he? Remember the goal he scored? Wonderful goal he scored on the left-hand side.
But today you're saying he's only been good for 5 minutes.
Yes, this is his first real season where Antony Gordon has really caught the eye. He's knuckling down. He's putting the hard miles in. He works very hard for his team. There's a little bit more quality in front of goal, yes. He was the player of the tournament for the Euros in the summer, so we want that continuity for him to go from the 21s to the full team. But there's a pecking order right now, but he's close. So I don't think he should be abandoning and jumping ship. You can be dual nationality, Jim, actually, and be very proud of that. My parents were Irish. And my father said, as I've told you many times, we've taken the benefits of this country, so you're English. But I could happily have played for Ireland. So there's no issue there. There's no issue there. And we shouldn't push it and rely on them that they're going to definitely play for England. But he is in the queue, and he's top of the queue. And Gareth, I'm pretty certain he carries on his...
My point is, would it be a good time for him to switch allegiance and play for Scotland?
I don't want to see him go to
Scotland have qualified for the Euros.
England need him. He's a quality player.
I think he's looking through the prism of the player's mindset, not necessarily the country's requirements as and when it suits the country. If you were this player and you're being talked about in terms of playing for an international country, Scotland are now in the mix. They're a team that's now qualifying and they've got more credence about them. If you had a situation where you had reservations and doubts and you were slightly impatient, because it does seem to be a trait of his that he's impatient, as it is Cole Palmer's. Cole Palmer's is a trait of impatience. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just got to be tempered. Would you look at it and go, well, Scotland is a consideration for me.
It is a consideration because now they're starting to do something on an international stage, whereas before they weren't.
Exactly.
But I'd ask the young man if England were to win the Euros in the summer, and he was making cameo performances from the bench. I'm pretty certain he'd be more than happy with that, to being part of a winning team that's going there to actually potentially win it. We're bringing
Or he
Scotland.
can be a big star.
I don't know.
For
I mean,
Scotland.
maybe it's Jim.
Or he can be amongst the stars that you saw at St George's.
Maybe it's mischievous that Jim is bringing Scotland into the equation.
No. Southgate's
I think he was
about
answering questions.
I think
think
how's it mischievous to me?
Well, it is
sounds
because,
a bit Machiavellian to me, Jim.
It's a media thing, isn't it? They want to talk about other possibilities, and we've seen Sahar left and he went to another nation.
Côte d'Ivoire.
We mustn't take it for granted.
Victor
but
Moses as well.
He's in the
Absolutely.
queue, Jim, and I see no reason why he should go and jump ship to Scotland.
I mean, I'm with you on it, Simon, and I don't think it's tongue-in-cheek in your part since Scotland is a topic here. But, I mean, Scotland have qualified. He would get game time, of course.
Oh, yeah, he's likely to be a big fish in a smaller pond, and if Scotland want the crumbs off our table that we don't wish,
There you go.
then that's fine.
Yeah.
If I was Antony Gordon, I would be probably in the space that Martin's advocating for. You've just arrived, and if people are influencing you at this stage, and the right voices need to be in his ear, you've got the England manager talking about him in isolation, being somebody that's in consideration. It's not a God-given right because you've had a few good games in a Premier League to suddenly be included in an England squad. Sometimes we give away caps a little bit too freely to players. It needs to be
We
earned.
want it to be this way, don't we? We want such good players in there at the
An
moment. We
embarrassment
don't
of
keep on
riches.
throwing people
and if
in
he
and out.
backs himself, Antony Gordon, if he does indeed think this is as a thought process, and we're superimposing that he might, if he backs himself and believes in himself, which I'm pretty sure he does because he's not backward about coming forward when he's doing TV interviews, then he should be able to believe that England is awaiting my opportunity. So
Yeah.
if I was in his shoes, I would be staying with the bigger opportunity,
You got
which
your
is
first
England.
England cap quite late, man. Did you ever consider?
Well,
Ireland.
the Irish FA, Jack Charlton, God rest his soul, tried to get me to go across because I hadn't played for England. I played for the 21s and it was like 26 before I played. In fact, I was still playing it just shy of 35. So, you know, it can be that you have to wait. And maybe we're now in an era when you have to wait a little bit. And that's a good thing because it means that there's people in situ. You look at the people in front of him, they're quite young and he needs to be patient, but he's still, I think
But
he's
changed,
getting
isn't it?
close
I
to
mean,
it, Jim.
You used to have the 21s, the 23s. So you go back a few years, and you know the only person that ever got capped at all the levels was Terry Venables, from the schoolboys up to the full national side. So the framework is different, and players are arriving younger.
Sure.
But there also is an element of patience. And 26, by the way, isn't an old man, is it?
No.
But in footballing terms, it is. If you're waiting to play international, we're getting them in early now. I like that.
Yeah.
Get it out of the way.
Absolutely.
And I'm pretty certain it's just a matter of time, Jim.
Well, I don't want to influence him in any way, but Antony, if you're listening this morning, do the right thing and join up with Steve Clark. So too Harvey Barnes, so too Elliot Anderson, so too Tino Livramento. There's a message from Kelvin in Chichester. It's a nice place. The way you're going on, Jim, about potential Scottish recruits, we would have to rename Scotland the UN. What's wrong with Scottish players? I mean, you guys are welcome to field an English reserve team anytime you like.
Good point, well made.
Did you put Kelvin and Chichester up to that?
I just think it's a fair observation.
Right.
I think you trying to solicit our players it has a modicum of embarrassment about it.
But then
at
at the same time, you can't
players.
tell if people feel that they're Scottish.
How many Scottish players
doesn't
have we
matter
taken
how,
the other way?
You know, you have a Scottish parent, you feel Scottish. Yeah, go and play for Scotland.
How many
if you feel
Scottish
that way.
players have we tried to take the other way? Is that a long list?
I don't know, but you certainly
None.
You poached a few Irish. Declan Rice,
He was an Irish.
Jack Grealish.
Just because Martin O'Neill couldn't convert him and do his job properly as an Irish manager and make sure he stayed there,
can't wait.
it's a different discussion.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.